We live in a time where masculinity is shamed and men don't know what it means to be a man. As a pastor and counselor, I've spent the better part of my life equipping and training others. My goal with this show is to translate my hard-earned experience into tools and tactics to help you become stronger as a man. This is the BraveCo podcast. I'm your host, Jason Bellet. John, thanks so much for coming on to the podcast. Man, we've spent a decent amount of time now, and I've told you this in person, but you've shaped my life so profoundly and impacted the way that I view myself, the way I view God, the way that I approach manhood and masculinity, thinking about my boys. So I have 3 boys now. My newest one, as you know, is just a month old, and I get to do it all over again. My oldest is 22 for all these that are watching this and didn't know. And my youngest, I just had my 5th baby's a month old. And I'm so excited to get to go on this journey again for my son, with my son, because I've learned so much along the way. And a lot of that is your materials, your writings, your thoughts. And I get to initiate my son into manhood and walk through that journey, which is what we're going to talk about today. But John, I just want to thank you for coming on here and being such a profound voice for men for so many years. In my world, I see a lot of men come. I think when I say my world, I'm just talking about the church world. I see a lot of men rise up for a short period of time, but you've been so consistent for so long and so steady, without major moral failures and things that we can all learn from. But I just really admire who you are and the legacy that you're leaving. So, and what you're building, continuing to build. So you're just starting building, which I love to. So John, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks, pal. Thanks. I don't think I can live up to the introduction, but I'm glad to see you again, and congratulations on the little guy. That's so awesome.
Yeah, you don't have to live up to the introduction. You already did. That's all past stuff. It's all past stuff. And best of all, you're my friend. So yes. That is the best thing of all. I want to dive in a little bit. You wrote a book. You wrote several books, and I highly recommend anyone really, men and women should read the Wild at Heart book, and women should go on the journey of reading the book that you and your wife wrote too. The title is slipping my mind. It's Captivated. That's right.
Yeah.
Phenomenal book. But recently I dove into your book that's called Fathered by God. And man, I had read Wild at Heart, I don't know, a while ago. And Wild at Heart when Wild at Heart came out, it was so impactful. It was such a roadmap. It took the world by storm, the Christian world, and probably I'm only in the Christian world, so I wouldn't even know. But the Christian world, it took the Christian world by storm because it's so profound. The insights, the principles, the journey of what it means to be a man, what masculinity is, all that stuff, just phenomenal. You nailed that book on the head. And but then you wrote Fathered by God. I'm not sure, when did you write that book? How far after?
It was only maybe 5 years later. Yeah, it was actually originally called The Way of the Wild Heart.
Yeah.
Yeah, and my publisher said that the title, dudes were getting it confused with Wild at Heart. It was too close. I love that title. So anyway, they changed it to Fathered by God.
Well, I think it's a fitting title. I can see how guys would get kind of confused. We're guys. Yeah. We're men. Just do one title. So maybe your publisher was right. Maybe they're wrong. Regardless, I think this book, to me, for where I'm at in my life, feels feels as profound as the first time I read Wild at Heart, because it's a guide. It's more of a guide
Yeah.
for me, step by step. Like, okay, it takes you all the way from boyhood to the cowboy to the warrior, right? And then you enter into the lover and the king and the sage. And I don't know that we're going to get through all of that. The goal isn't to try to do that, but I loved the picture of going from, okay, what was I like as the cowboy, and where am I at today? And there's a little bit of the cowboy in the sage.
Oh,
There's a
yeah.
little bit of the warrior in the sage.
Yeah.
So for guys, and you can explain that, but it's so fun when you were teaching at our BraveCo conference, last year, you started to pull out some pieces and dive into this. And it was the first time I had heard it, which was, I love listening to the things for the first time, because
Oh,
like, I wish I could watch Tombstone for the first time again.
right. Yeah.
So awesome.
Yeah.
But you really did such a great job at laying out just the different stages that we encounter as a man throughout our life, and the transitions that take place. And so I'm taking a long time to introduce this, because for those men out there you're really looking for a guide that goes, okay, where am I at? And what is this stage of my life really all about? And and what are these cravings that are happening? And what's this desire over here? This book is phenomenal. And then how do I partner with God in all those? And then how do I partner with other men in that? And okay, so profound. So we're going to dive into a little bit of this, John. And what I've done is just taken some excerpts out of the book. I'm not the best reader on the planet, but we're going to give it the old Weaverville try today.
All right, here we go, buddy.
In the very beginning, you're talking about, you share your story. Well, we'll dive into that in a little bit. The first excerpt that I took out, I believe, was from page 5 or 6, but he says, a boy becomes a man only through the active intervention of his father and the fellowship of men. It cannot happen any other way. To become a man and to know that he has become a man, a boy must have a guide, a father who will show him how to fix a bike, cast a fishing rod, call a girl, land the job, and all the many things the boy will encounter on his journey to become a man. It's a profound paragraph, because especially nowadays, with the amount of boys that are growing up without a father, right? So many men are watching this right now and didn't realize the reason why I'm struggling as a man, my confidence, is because I didn't have that guide.
Yeah. Yeah, it's huge. The good news is you're not supposed to learn it on your own, right? And we talk about like the self-made man. That's actually a really sad phrase.
It is.
Like, and I know it personally, because my dad was a really good man when I was really young, and he did. Like in the boyhood Cowboy Stage, my dad was awesome, but then he got taken out by alcohol and blew up the family. And so a lot of the things I learned in my life, including fly fishing, which you and I both have a love for, archery, hunting, like a lot of stuff I actually did teach myself. And that's a sad story. You don't want that story. You want, the design, at least, was that a father figure, might be an uncle, might just be, a coach, a favorite teacher, your grandpa, will come along and guide you through the stages of initiation.
Yeah.
And if we get that initiation, oh man, it settles some questions for us.
Yeah.
It does some things in our souls. So my assistant is a lovely gal. She has a son who's, I think he's about 9 years old. She sent me a video yesterday. And so he's taking martial arts, and he broke his first brick. Okay.
Oh,
So you got the little, set up in the yard with the brick, and she admitted that she tried to talk him out of it. Okay. So that's mom. That's okay. That's okay. Mom is
yeah.
about other things. She's about mercy and kindness and love. Okay. Dad or the male figure is about, yeah, you can do this. Okay. So he winds up, breaks the brick, you should have seen the look on his face.
Like savage.
It was the look of validation,
Yes.
right?
Oh, that's
Like
so great.
I
Yes.
got, I got
Of
it.
course.
I got what it takes. Like I can do this. And so the idea of initiation through these stages is that, yeah, there's somebody there to show you the way.
And we'll get into this more and more, but it's really important if you didn't have somebody along that journey, like so many men are facing today. If you didn't have somebody to initiate you into manhood, um, that's the role of God at this point, and the role of other men. But it's not like God is going, well, sorry, you missed
Right.
out.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that's part of what I love so much about your story is here you are. I mean, you literally wrote the book on what it means to be a man and how to be a man, and yet you were so uninitiated.
Yeah. Yeah.
And man, could you imagine if your story would have been the other way around? I mean, it would be great for you, but for so many of the men who, like, of course you wrote Wild at Heart. You had the best dad on the planet, and how hard would that be for you?
Right. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that wasn't the case. Before we move much a little bit further, I'm realizing I want to just crack that open a tiny bit. And I think I had it down, but anyways, you tell a story. I can't remember how old you were, but you tell a story when you were first married, where you went out fly fishing. You went to the river, and your dad often took you to the river, like you said, when you were young. Um, and I'm going to butcher it, and then I'm going to let you tell it. And you come home from the river, and you're super agitated,
Yeah.
and you don't even know why. And your wife's just going, hey, what's going on with you? Can you share that story? Like, can you like unpack?
Yeah.
That hit me so hard when I was reading the book.
Yeah. Cause even in his drinking days, the one place I had my dad was fishing.
Yeah.
And like he kept losing jobs and all this stuff, but we would go fishing together. And so it was like the one place in the boy's heart, I have my dad, right? So fishing's got this deep, deep place in my soul. And then, he blew his life up and all the fishing trips stopped, all that ended. And
Like at
years,
what age?
um, so he kind of blew everything up when I was about 10. And then on into my teenage years, man, I was a wild kid, and a lot of that had to do with the cry for a father. I didn't
Yeah.
I didn't have a father. Um, and then my mom disappeared, right? Because she's got to go back to work. So I was the classic latchkey kid. I'm just alone, to figure life out. And anyhow, I become a really passionate fly fisherman in my adult life. But I would fish alone,
Yeah.
right? That's a sad story, man. That sucks.
It is a sad story.
So I go out fishing. I don't catch anything. I come home and I'm really upset and I'm pacing back and forth in the kitchen. And Stacy's like, whoa. She's like, babe, what's up? And literally I'm saying, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. And then all of a sudden it pops out of my mouth. I said, I'll never find him out there. I had no idea that all those years I was looking for my father on the
Oh,
river. Like,
it
and
makes me want to cry. Just
I know.
your story makes me want to cry.
I know. So now let me connect it to this podcast because so it was not long later that I was out alone again and I was fishing a famous section of the South Platte called the Miracle Mile here in Colorado. And there's giant rainbows in there but it's really technical. And if you don't know what you're doing, you're not going to catch anything. And I'm not catching anything. And I keep looking downriver and there's this dude, woo, he's whooping it up and he's pulling fish in. And finally I just go, I'm just going to go watch this guy. I need to figure out how to unlock this. So I go down there. Here's the story. He's a fly fishing guide on his day off. And he sees me watching him and he says, "Hey, come on over, come on over. You know, how's it going?" And so here's where the fathering comes in, like the idea that God will bring fathering. He's like, "No, no, no, come
Yeah.
on down into my hole." I'm like, "Really?" He's like, "Come on, come on, come on." He's like, "Show me what you're using." You know, and I've got my brand new Sage rod and my cool gear, you know. And he's like, he looks at my stuff. He's like, "Oh yeah, no, you're not going to catch anything with that." Yeah. So he just whips out his nippers and he just starts clipping off all my flies and stuff like that. He says, "Let me show you what you need." Ties on the right, you know, he's using super small midges and got 3 strike indicators and all this stuff. He goes,
Wow.
"Here's how it works." And he starts showing me his casting technique and his sort of thing. And I'm kid you not, 2 minutes of that and boom, I'm into a fish. And what felt so wonderful was that there was a man to show me the way. Somebody stepped into the need, right? Somebody stepped into the emptiness and said, "Let me show you how this works."
Yeah.
And I could point to my Volkswagen mechanic, right?
Yes.
Yes, and my first martial arts teacher, and on it goes. You know, certain teachers in high school, guys stepped up, and this is what we mean by Father by God. Like
Yeah.
God will bring the fathering that you need.
Yeah. It's so cool. Because I've just seen that so many times. Even in my life, you know, I had a great father, a really, really great father who in a lot of ways, I would say initiated me very well into manhood and showed me hard work and, you know, tenderness, but also, you know, the firm correction of a dad. And there's so many other men in my life that I look at as father as
Yeah.
well. And I think, you know, you could have the best dad in the world and you will always need another guide, another father in your life to help take you into that next journey.
Yep.
And so it's just been so essential. So the other thing that when you were talking about finding that guide on the river, which now it's so I think about those times that I've helped somebody on the river, you know, when they're not catching anything, it just brings so much joy because you never really understand what you're doing for someone until you help them, the possibility of that. But the flip side of that is there's so many men that dive headfirst into the fishing career, whatever it is. It's not necessarily fishing. I just think about the hunting, fishing industry in achievements, trying to get their dad's validation, right? The dad that, again, like your dad, he's gone, he's not around, he's alcoholic, whatever, he's checked out onto his next life. And you don't know. I mean, so many men never put it together. I'm doing this because I'm either trying to find dad or I'm trying to get him to say, you are a man, you're doing a great job. They don't ever get that. They don't ever know that. They don't ever put those pieces together. And it's just Red Bulls and it's gasoline and it's the hammer down. And they end up in just this destructive life.
Yeah.
These massive cycles. And I just think I love this guide because it quiets all that down.
Yep. Yeah. There's a journey that every boy and every man needs to take. And you don't get to skip it. And you're going to lay this out, but from beloved son, knowing you're the beloved son, and some of the joys of boyhood into what we call the cowboy stage,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then the warrior,
Yeah.
and then the lover, as you laid out, the king, the sage. And here's the thing: if you miss key initiation in that, years later, God will take you back. Right?
Mhm.
So like your marriage isn't going so great anymore because there are things that you did not learn about being a lover, things about the way of the heart, about how to love a woman. He will cycle you back around and
Yeah.
fill in the initiation that you didn't get. And some guys,
Yeah.
they may have crushed it, you know, in athletics. They may have been, you know, high school star and everybody's hero, but they never knew they were the beloved son.
Yeah.
And so like you were saying, they're chasing the validation, they're chasing the affirmation, high octane, or it's the corporate deal and boom, 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 climbing the ladder, making the money. And they don't realize that the craving inside is just to know, I love you and I'm proud of you. And so God will circle a man. He could be 65
Yeah.
and he'll take a man all the way back to that missing part of just being the son. Like you get to be a son. I took my son out to lunch. My sons are all young men now, good men. But life's life, and there's struggles and there's marital stuff and, looking for work. And my youngest son was really crushing himself, just finished his graduate work, was trying to land the perfect job. And I just sat him down and said, look, pal, like you're good. Got nothing to prove.
Yeah.
Okay. This takes some time. So let's stretch this timeline out. I don't think it's going to happen in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
From grad school to perfect job, right?
Yeah.
Like let's stretch this thing out a little bit. Well, us fathering him, even as a young man, right? We all still need that
Yeah.
love, the kindness, the validation of God.
It's true. And all that stuff is going to get so tested as we go along the journey and have to get reinforced so much. What you say in kind of describing what a man's going to need on his journey in page 6, you talk about, you say, this is essential. For life will test you, my brothers. Like a ship at sea, you'll be tested, and the storms will reveal the weak places in you as a man. They already have. How else do you account for the anger you feel, the fear, the vulnerability to certain temptations? Why can't you marry a girl? Having married, why can't you handle her emotions? Why haven't you found your life's mission? Why do financial crises send you into rage or depression? You know what I speak of. It's so, and this is, I mean, again, laying out the journey that we all are going to face. Every one of us men are going to face the same kind of journey. If you're not married, why haven't you been married? If you are married, why are you running away from her emotions? I'm looking at me going, yeah, that's totally true. Could have just happened an hour ago. Why are you hiding from your finances? I cannot stress how important it is to have the guide in your life and to not skip those initiations. John, as we move on to a little bit about the cowboy, can you kind of lay out the cowboy stage for us? Just so we get a good idea of it.
Yeah. And again, guys, like as you look at your favorite movies, look at stories that you love, you're actually going to see these stages. This is universal. This is across all history, all cultures. It's the same.
Yeah.
Okay. So like in Mongolia for centuries, the tradition was at a certain age, the boy needs to catch a golden eagle and train it. And then they ride with these golden eagles and they hunt with the eagles. Okay. That is the cowboy stage. You're moving from belovedness and playfulness and under the protection of a loving father, adventures and sleepovers, all that stuff. Wrestling with dad. You move into the stage in the teenage years, and it kicks in around 12 or 13. The boy has a need, and the need is to be tested. And so the cowboy years, this is David out in the field. This is St. Patrick out in the field, right? Moses out. Like, this is amazing how many stories followed this.
Yeah.
It's adventure and hard work, right? He wants to buy the motorcycle and go on the trip, right? That kind of thing. He wants to work for the fire crews in the summer, right? Those things that begin to test his young masculinity, because it's really important for the boy to hear, you have what it takes. Okay.
Yeah.
But it's a whole nother thing when he begins to discover it to be true for himself, right? So that boy who, broke his first brick and the look on his face, and like, it's that stuff. The cowboy stage, because adventure tests us, you get on the river trip and suddenly you're like, whoa, we could totally flip this canoe, or right.
Yeah.
And hard work tests you. You get your
Yeah.
first lawn job or you're changing oil or that kind of thing. These form such great things. And so here was my rescue. My dad's blowing up, family's falling apart. My grandfather was a cattle rancher in Eastern Oregon. And I used to spend my summers on his ranch working. And he was a very kind, he was a really loving man, but we worked, right? And the thrill of being able to saddle up, go out, chase down a steer, or just go fix fence,
Yeah.
right? It does
So cool.
things in the young boy's soul. It's forming strength, it's forming resilience, right?
Yes.
So that he's not thrown by adversity later in life. That's the cowboy stage. It goes from about 13 to about 19.
It's so fun. My boys are, one of them's entering it, really in the heat of it. He's 17, and I get to watch that. He just keeps begging me, Dad, can I get a motorcycle? Like not a dirt bike, but a street bike. And I'm just like, well, how about you just run chainsaw with your brother for a while? Which is what he's doing now. So my oldest son's 22 and he runs a crew, falling brush and climbing trees. He's got a tree service. He's phenomenal. He is the ultimate cowboy warrior,
Right.
working on that. And he gets to bring his brother along. They just did saw training the other day, but I'm watching these two boys, like they want to, if it runs, they want to chase it.
Yeah.
If it's steep, they want to climb it. If
Yeah.
it's if they can swim it, they'll swim it. They dive off stuff. And I'm just looking at it going, man, I don't know that it's worth it. Like for me, like I'm not diving off that. Maybe not.
Right.
But these boys are just going after it. And one thing that I love to remind guys of, and even myself of, is confidence comes by doing. And if you're at this point of your life, at any point of your life, and you feel incompetent, man, I feel incompetent to lead my wife, or I don't feel confident to face her emotions, or to whatever. So much of that stuff comes even when we're not doing those particular activities.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
this childhood should have been years, right? So that your dad going, no, you can do it. Go ahead and try that. No, go ahead and son, you need to do this. Years of testing yourself, testing your mettle, finding out that you do actually have what it takes, transitions into so much stuff that you've never even touched.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, guys, like, don't despair. Like, if you didn't get this,
Yeah.
there are places that God is wanting to bring it now. So like your friends ask you, hey, you want to join us on this raft trip? And instead of turning them down every time, you go, oh, maybe that is for me because it's frontier. Where is frontier for you, right? Is it money? Is it friendship? Is it pursuing a promotion? Like, what's frontier for you? And again, this isn't about being like great hunters or fishermen, okay?
No.
It's where's your frontier, and walking into that, because it's in the unknown, particularly for the cowboy, that these lessons of learned of, you can handle this, you can handle failure. It's not just about success, right? Yeah, right. So the cowboy stage is like, there were times on the ranch it did not go well for me. I didn't cut that cow in time, and it got out through the gate, and then I'm in trouble and stuff like that. That's okay. Like, how do you handle failure? Failure is not crushing. It doesn't need to define you. Where's your frontier, fellas? And ask God to take you into that. He's still working this out in us, even right now.
It's phenomenal. That question, where's your frontier? It's so true. It's not like you have to run back and try to find your childhood again. That thing that you're looking for, that initiation that you're looking for, that confidence that you're looking for, is hidden in the thing that's agitating. It's hidden in the thing that you're afraid of. It's hidden and it's hidden in a thing that is out of your comfort zone. And it's so true. What you're saying is facing up, showing up and facing that James 1 situation, right? Consider the pure joy when you encounter various trials, for the testing of your faith produces perseverance. And when perseverance runs its course, you lack nothing. It's those different places in our lives that meet us almost every day. It's when you really start to look at it, they almost show up every day and give us an opportunity to continue to build confidence in those areas. So I love that. I just want to make sure I don't miss anything in there. I loved this line in the Cowboy. You say, I hear, I forget, I see, I remember, I do, I understand. For masculine initiation is not a spectator sport. It's something that must be entered into. It's 1 part instruction, 9 parts experience. That is totally the Cowboy. I mean, it's the manhood stage, but I mean, when I think about the Cowboy, that is so true. It's you on your grandpa's farm. He's telling you something. You're like, what'd you say? You watch him do it. You're like, I think I kind of got it. Maybe.
Yes.
No, you go do it.
Yes. Yes. He would do crazy stuff with me. He would take me out into a field. Now, you guys, you gotta understand, I'm a city kid. I'm a suburbs kid growing up in LA. All right.
Wow.
I
Yeah,
got
that's
I got
right.
none of this in my
That's
day to
right.
day. Okay. He'd take me out in the field with a tractor. I think I'd driven the tractor. It was an old Massey Ferguson. I think I'd driven it like 3 times. And he describes how he wants the furrows in this field cut. And then he just leaves. And he's like, I'll see you in a couple hours. And he drives off, leaves me on, to do this. It's 9-part experience, right? And I'm all over the place, and the furrows are like, but I believe in you. That's
Yeah.
huge, right? I believe in you. You can handle this. I believe in you. You can handle this. And then entering into the experience. So yeah, again, like, what are you running from? What's the part of your life that you're running from that God may actually be waiting for you in? Come back to this. Let's work through this
Mhm.
together, right? Let's work through it together. Okay, so just today, in my staff, I've got a staff of about 18 people. I blew it, and I sent an email to a guy on the team giving somebody else a project, and I didn't even realize what I was doing, but I was really undermining his
Mm.
authority.
Sure.
And he texted me, and he said, "Wow, that was kind of confusing to me." Now, I can run
Yeah.
and just BS my way out of it, saying, "Oh, dude, I'm sorry. Yeah, I didn't realize it. It's all good."
Yeah.
Or I can go into the mess. I can walk right into the center of the mess
Mm.
and say, "All right, tell me, like, I can take this. Tell me what I didn't understand. How did I screw this up?" It's
Yeah.
those choices, right? Go into the chaos instead of running from it. Go into the uncertainty instead of running from it. That's where these deeper questions here in this stage get answered.
That's so awesome. It's so true. When you were raising boys, which you still are, but when they were young in this phase, because so much of a boy's life, like you're talking about, is he has to do himself. And then the other frustrating part for me is it feels like my boys don't hear me sometimes. You tell them 92 times how to do something, or maybe even give a little advice that they, a little forced fatherly advice that they don't want to take. How much did you set up for your boys, like adventures, experiences, chores, things like that, that they had to, that would give them some of that experience?
I'm looking for it all the time. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're out camping, you're at a lake, you find a cool place to rock jump off, right? Hey, let's go rock jump off this. And there's like the older sons, the kind of the cautious, the hesitant one. You can do this, pal. Give it a go. Thing, just always looking for it. Mountain biking. We used to do these trips out to Moab, Utah, and
Yeah.
go on these mountain biking trips. And then now you take the lead. Now you choose where we're going,
So
right?
cool.
Yeah, like I was always looking for, that's why I like deliberately got them into rock climbing, because rock climbing is just this intimate experience of initiation every time you do it. It's
Mm,
fear, it's doubt, it's overcoming obstacles, but you're roped in. You're not going to
yeah.
die, okay?
Yeah, it's
But
calculated.
yeah, and so I'm not setting up ridiculous risk for them.
Yeah.
Okay. But like you guys, the joy, when do you let the cowboy drive? Right. So like 12, 13 years old, we got this
Yeah.
Suburban, all these bikes on top, bunch of dudes in it. I'd pull over on these dirt roads where, no one's out there, you're gonna hit a cactus. Okay.
Yeah.
So, and I'd put the 12-year-old in the driver's seat and say, okay, you take over, drive us into camp. And just the joy on their faces, like they loved it. And they get all the dudes on the outside hanging on the running boards, and we go flying down these dirt roads, and
Yeah.
that's cowboy. Here, try this.
Yeah.
Here's the car keys. Here's the chainsaw, right? Or it's hey, how's your homework coming?
Mm,
It's not always outdoor stuff. It
yeah.
could be, why don't you try out for the school play? How come
Yeah.
you how come you're not going to do that? I know you want to. Let's go do that. Right. So it can take place in a lot of different ways.
Yeah. That's so cool. It just makes me so excited for this. I love that stuff so much. I remember when my youngest son, Evan, he was probably 7 or 8. Um, I went and bought him a knife. And I mean, everything was already a knife in his hands, anyways. The stick, the
Yes.
whatever, pencil was a knife. So went out and bought him a knife. And his mom mom was asking, are you going to dull that knife? And I said, no, I'm actually going to do the opposite. I'm going to sharpen the knife. And I'm going to teach Ev how to use it and teach him some principles. And then I'm going to let him use it. And she just gave me that look like, well, y'all just go do whatever you're going to do. I don't want to think about Evan running around here with a sharp knife. Because I remember, as a kid, my grandma got me the Rambo knife with the compass on back and the matches inside that. And it
Yes.
even had a saw, like inside a wire that you cut. Best thing that ever happened to me was that Rambo knife. So I give Evan this knife and I sharpen it. It's pretty sharp, and I teach him, if you want to cut something, you cut away from your hand and all that stuff. And I hand him the knife, and he goes out and plays. Well, I'm in my garage, I'm tying flies, just having fun. And Evan comes in, and he's a little bit crying, but mostly, Dad. I'm like, yeah, buddy. He says, uh, I I cut my hand. I'm like, okay, well, let me see it. And he had nicked his finger. And so I said, oh, what were you doing? And he said, I was sharpening a stick. I said, oh yeah, buddy, you had your hand in front of the stick you were cutting. And he goes, yeah. And he was looking real disappointed. He was sure I was going to take the knife away. Like,
Yep.
I told you once, but I did the opposite. I said, well, do you need help cleaning the blood off your hand? No. Do you need help cleaning out the cut? No. Okay, well, go take care of it and go have fun. He only did that twice. So he cleaned out his cut, went out and played again, got one more nick, asked him the same question. After that, the boy learned how to use a sharp knife.
Yep.
And I'm not talking about giving your boy a loaded gun at 7, but for me, it was these little tiny things where he could learn there's a little bit of a consequence, but you
Yep.
get all this huge responsibility once you learn how to use something of substance.
Hmm.
And giving those boys just a little bit of experience, man, is just so vital for, their learning and upbringing. I love it.
Yep. Yeah, that's
My
good
dad did
stuff.
similar stuff, letting me drive cars and trucks. And I learned how to drive on a really, really old Toyota Land Cruiser,
Oh, nice.
a 3 on the tree.
Yes.
So fun.
Yeah, man.
Wild. Let's talk a little bit about the warrior. Can you outline the warrior stage? And
Yep.
we're not gonna make all of these I really want people to get the book and go through it themselves, but we'll do the warrior and then we'll do the king and call it good. But can you take us through the warrior a little bit?
Yeah. So around the age of about 17, 18, 19, and certainly into the 20s, something else begins to shift in the boy's heart. He doesn't just want adventure anymore. He
Mm,
wants a mission. He wants a battle. He needs a battle to fight. Okay. And again, this could be anything. Could be trade school, could be military,
yep.
could, right? Could be going back and finishing his high school that he didn't. Could be
Yep.
landing that first job. But the warrior stage is where he learns you are dangerous, and
Mm,
dangerous is good. In the world now, dangerous is just bad. We've just said, look, dangerous is bad. And this is the real tragedy, because yes, the majority of violent crimes are committed by young men. Let's admit it. Like, we can't
yeah.
hide that fact. But that
Yes.
doesn't make the warrior bad.
Right.
I'll guarantee you that every single one of those young men are fatherless or uninitiated, right?
So
Like
true.
the warrior's in there, but they just don't know how to handle it. It's like the
Mm,
knife, right? You got to learn how to handle your strength.
mhm.
You got to learn how to handle your anger. You got to learn how to handle aggression. Okay. And there is a place for it. I mean, Jesus making the cord of whips, clearing out the temple, like that
Yeah.
is a premeditated act. It
Yeah.
said he made a whip of cords. So that took some time. He is contemplating this
Yeah.
coming act, right, of
Yeah.
aggression. He doesn't kill people in that act, but he clears out the hypocrisy, the crooks, right, all of that stuff, the religious BS. He clears it
Yeah.
out so that people can come back to God. Okay,
Yeah.
there's an anger in him. There
Yeah.
is a fury in him, and we've hit this stage in the world. We say all anger is bad, all aggression is bad. You go, no, 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 no. You don't understand.
Yeah.
Like, the wildfires that you guys are dealing with every summer in Northern California, it takes the warrior to fight those fires.
Yeah.
Okay. Because it's gnarly. And to rise up, it takes a warrior to fight injustice. It takes a
Mm,
warrior to go into the inner city and try and teach those kids things that they have not learned yet, like volunteer tutoring, after school stuff, right? That takes the
mm,
warrior. It takes courage, resolve, resilience, bravery, to
yeah.
get in there. And yes, aggression. There is a very righteous place for that part of the boy's heart that says, I need a mission. I need something more to my life than just, rafting trips or motorcycles or whatever.
Mm,
About 19, right, into your 20s, it's really critical that the warrior is formed, because
mm.
when he becomes a king, if he has not been a warrior, he will play it safe, right?
Oh,
He
wow.
he won't take his business to the next level. He won't grow his church. He won't take criticism, right?
Mm,
He'll be a very safe man as a king, because he didn't take risks as the cowboy and as the warrior. He's got to learn there is a battle to fight. You are created in the image of a warrior God. Okay? Exodus 15:3, the Lord is a warrior. The Lord is his name. Our God is a warrior God, loving, kind, under control. It's not
yep.
reckless violence, but if you are abusing children, if you are trafficking women, like, somebody's got to rise up and stop this stuff.
Yep.
Okay? That's the warrior. And getting into some warrior training and getting into those experiences. So I was chatting with a guy, for example, the other day. He's a beautiful man. He really is. He's a beautiful man in his 30s, musician. Um, and I'm trying to tell stories where I screwed it up. This, I, we had a meeting scheduled and I missed a meeting. And so the next week he's like, oh, no, no, man, no, that's okay. Like, everything's good. But I could tell he was pissed. Okay. And I said, no, actually, it's not okay. I'm like, the warrior, you're missing the warrior. The
Mm,
warrior in you wants to say, where were you last week? That
yeah.
was really irresponsible. And you
Mm.
could just see this look in his face, like, that's okay. You know, I'm like, yes, it's okay. It's okay to confront people in love. Again, I'm not talking about just
Yeah.
blasting people out of the
Yep.
water, right? But to stand up to your boss and say, hey,
Yep.
man, that thing that we just did on that deal, right? Like we totally shortchanged those people. We charged them, you know, $30 for that tile. And you and I both know that tile cost $5. Like that
Yeah.
is not okay. Like
Yeah.
that's the warrior who's standing up for what's right and he's willing to confront what's wrong.
Man, what a vital stage.
Huge,
Like
huge.
so massive. I guess the other side, this is a question. When an uninitiated king, so a king who hasn't been a warrior, could he also flip to the other side and be a tyrant?
Yes, right. He will see, here's the thing. He will only pick battles he can win. And so
Yeah.
if he's got power, oh yeah, he's gonna just lord it over his little kingdom, right? Because now
Yeah.
he feels powerful. And you're like, that's not power, right? That's not that's
Well,
not
it's
that's not
fear. Yeah.
that's not strength,
Yeah.
right? You're a poser. Okay.
Yes.
So if the king hits, so here's the example, and then we can kind of shift into the king stage. So somewhere late 30s, early 40s, you enter the king stage. And this is where you are entrusted with a kingdom. You might be
Mhm.
a teacher, you know, in a middle school. You might be the coach of a soccer team, but you've got some realm of influence. You've got a kingdom that is under your rule. Your money's under your rule. Your health is
Yeah.
under your rule. If you have a
Yeah.
family, you have a kingdom.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So if the king has not known that he's the beloved son, then he's just going to seek validation. Do you love me? Do you love me? Do you love me? He will always need to be the center of attention. He'll always need to be the
Insecure.
center
Yeah.
of the meeting, you
Mm.
know, and he cannot take criticism. Okay.
Mm.
So if the king has not been the cowboy, he won't take risks, right? He will only make safe decisions. Like,
Yeah.
are you okay with this, honey? Are you okay? You know, everything will be
Yeah.
built around minimizing risk rather than taking healthy risk. And if he hasn't been the warrior, he will not lead his people into battle, right?
Mhm.
He will be a tyrant
Yes.
or he will be a very passive king, but he will not lead his people to victory
Yeah.
in the battle. You know, and like you just take spiritual warfare, for example, so many Christian leaders don't want to deal with it because it
Yeah.
freaks them out. What
Yeah.
kind of thing? Well, look, like the warrior learns how to handle that stuff. It's not freaky, doesn't need to be center stage, but you know how to
Yep.
handle evil. You're like, get out of here, man. Get out of my kingdom. You can't operate here. If the king doesn't have that, he won't lead his people into the joy of victory, right? Taking ground, breakthrough, new things for the company or the church or his family, right? You see how
Right.
important the initiation is leading up to that stage. Because the stage of the king, it's a big deal. You know, you have a little money, you have a little power, you have some influence, you have a name, you know, and if you abuse that power, you will wound people,
Mm.
right? If you don't
Yep.
lead well, you will harm the people under your care. And so when you go into a kingdom, the first thing you want to do is look around and go, how are his people doing?
Yeah.
Are people flourishing in his kingdom?
Yeah.
That's the test of a
It
good
is.
king, right? Yeah.
It so is. It's man, I just that's what I'm telling you guys. That's why this book is so profound. Is yeah, I don't know. I don't know how we make it to a place where we walk in our God-given identity and calling without continually reading books, partnering with God,
Yep.
letting other men speak into us. This stuff you were not, man, you weren't supposed to figure this stuff out on your own. So if
Right.
you feel frustrated, like you weren't supposed to figure this stuff out on your own. And this is such a great opportunity to start where you're at right here, right now. So if you're a king and you're going, oh my gosh, that's why I'm afraid of every freaking battle. yeah, no worries. God's got you. And I'll tell you, like, partner up with a sage, or partner up with another king who knows how to do that. Let him give you some courage.
Yeah.
In all these other areas that we're talking about. You know, what's also really profound is I have found myself quite a few times in life going, man, I just want an easy life. Like, I've literally
Amen.
said those words. I just
Yep.
want an easy life. I just want, you know, but when I look at God's design, like actually the design, especially when you're taking me through these different stages, when I look at the design for my life of shaping and molding and confidence growing and character building and boundary setting and, all that leadership and legacy, and it's there's no such thing as, what my mind is going is, oh, I want to make money easily. I want to make friendships that don't have conflict. I want a wife that it's just harmonious all the time. I want kids that raise themselves. I want cars that don't break.
Yep.
But could you imagine? And again, I'm just having this epiphany over again as you're taking us through and unpacking these different stages. Like, if I got my own selfish way, I would be a weak, broken down, scared, anxiety ridden, fear driven man.
Yes. In about 16 different addictions. Yeah.
Like, staying
Guys,
in the pocket. Yeah.
easy is not out there.
No, it's not.
Can we all just go look?
It's
Easy is
not.
not out there.
It's not.
So what's harder is being uninitiated. Initiation's hard. Yep, initiation's hard. But what's harder is being uninitiated and not knowing how to handle your life as a man, not knowing how to handle the heart of a woman, not being able to raise your sons and daughters well. Like, that's harder. So
Yeah.
we want to sign up. Like, sign up for God's initiation of your life. Where are we going, Lord? What are we doing? Like, I don't want to back down anymore.
And at the end of all of it, right? There's so much reward in it, in all of it. That's what makes it so much fun. That's why I'm smiling so big. It's what makes it so much fun is there's so much more reward in something that you worked for and bled for and failed at and eventually conquer. There's so much reward inside of this initiation and so much adventure inside of the next season or the season that God has you in right now. Like, there's so much beauty and excitement in it. The only way to really tap into it is to press in, is to go forward and to say, yeah, God, show me, teach me, help me.
Exactly. With your God, not on your own, with your God. And he will bring men in seasons of your life to teach you certain things. He'll bring books, podcasts, films, into your life to teach you things that we're not saying, okay, now go initiate yourself.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, guys, start with a really simple question. Just get a little bit of alone time with God. Ask yourself and ask God a question. Ask yourself, what's not working? What's not working in your life? Because there's there's your frontier. There's your initiation. Okay. And then ask God, will you walk me through this?
Yeah.
How are we working on this? Because he's not going to say, okay, we're going to work on the king and the lover. We're going to get some stage going. I want to come back and tell you how much I love you. He's not going to do that. Okay. He's going to pick one or two things. This is what we're working on right now. Okay. The rest of the stuff can wait. I want to work on love in you, or confidence in you. I want to work on the warrior in you. I want you to go back in and return, right? That set of headphones that you bought and don't work, go back in the store and return that.
Yeah.
And you're like, really? I don't like returning things. Exactly. You need the warrior. So go back in there and return that. He will guide you in your initiation. So just ask him, what are we working on, Father, right now in this season of my life? What are we working on?
Man, that's your homework. It's profound. Um, I love this. I mean, I could talk about this. I could talk about this a very long time. It just doesn't end. You know, the lessons inside of it, the having to navigate all the different nuances of it, and just the kindness of God. I mean, I look back at my childhood and all the different things that I've gone through, whether it's the great successes of my childhood and just the major downfalls, addictions and stuff. And I just see the kindness of God through all of it, because it's like he already knew from the beginning it was going to be a journey. He already knew it was going to be tough. He already knew I was going to do good and I was going to do bad. And I was going to question him and question myself and humanity. And so he has all that stuff built into it. He's got answers for all of it. He's got patience for all of it. He's got courage for all of it. And I just feel so much gratitude at the kindness of God in this moment, who has, you know, taken all of us, from you to my dad to, you know, all these men that we help give guidance to and courage to. And he's such a good father. And he, wherever you are on your path, he's got a lot of grace and a lot of answers for this and a lot of help. So it's a great spot to be. We didn't talk about the lover and we didn't talk about the sage, and we're not going to in this. I want to leave men. There's plenty of stuff in the book that we did not cover, like massive amounts of stuff. But I really want, if you're reading this if you're listening to this podcast, I think every man should go and invest in yourself. Get the book, get the audiobook if it's on audiobook, if you do better that way, and just go through it. It'd take you 13 hours to sit down and read it, do some highlighting, find where you're at in life, find the places where you've done really great, find the areas where, you know, maybe you haven't been initiated, and begin to just take one at a time and ask God, what do you want to do in this area? And he may say, hey, we're not touching on this area right now.
Yep.
Which is one of the coolest things, is we have all this anxiety, like I got to fix it all now. He's so much more chill than us when it comes to one step at a time. But I want to encourage you guys to grab the book, dive into it, jump on John's podcast, look at what he's doing on the Wild at Heart stuff. It's phenomenal. It's so profound. And John, thank you for your friendship and just your partnership and taking us through this book. I'm sure I'll have you on again. There's just so much more to unpack about manhood, masculinity, being a husband, being a great leader, raising kids. But would you pray for the men? Just impart some of your courage and.
Yeah, I'd love to. Yeah, Father, in each one of us, there's a beloved son, there's a boy still in us, and in each one of us, there's a cowboy. In each one of us, there is a warrior and a lover and a king. Lord, in each one of us, this is in there. Would you recover it, Father? Would you come back and shape what did not get shaped? Heal what got wounded, heal our masculinity, and take us into the next thing. Show us where you're working. Show us what we're working on this week, Lord, this month, this summer. Show us what we're doing. Lord, I want your fathering. And so we ask for it in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. John, thank you so much
Yeah,
for
man.
being with me today.
Yeah, loved it. Loved it, Jay. Thank you.
Appreciate you, man. Hey guys, thanks so much for listening to the BraveCo podcast. If you like this podcast, would you please rate it, review it, leave us a great comment. And if you like this episode in particular, share it with your friends and family. That helps us to spread the word. Guys, stay brave. We'll see you next week.